All right. So welcome to our quick little discussion over this the Plains Indians and the buffalo. So you can see the first thing I asked you to do was to caption this picture. And those of you, many of you noticed this is like a mountain of buffalo skulls. And we're going to talk about throughout the next couple of weeks of how we got to this point, where they're just murdering and slaying all these buffalo and why, and really why it's so important. Right, we're going to take a look over the next few weeks in what we call the classic cultures of the Indian Wars, and we're going to talk about how we went from having in 14 before Columbus landed here in 1492, the entire continental North America, what's today the United States, covered with various tribes, to by 2021, most primarily living on these reservations. And you're going to see that this word right here is a big part of it. It's conflict. We're going to talk about the conflict between the settlers, the American settlers, as they rushed from, excuse me, back as they rushed from east to west. All right. And one thing that you're going to talk about today, and I'm going to ask you to take a look at now, is all about the life of the buffalo. Right. And if you look, this is where you're going to sum up what I'm going to talk about here. Right. And why the buffalo were so important to these Plains Indians. When we talk about Native American tribes living on the plains, we often refer to them as the Plains Indians. And by the 1800s, they had come to rely on these buffalo. They called them there's a nickname that they're the living grocery store of the Plains Indians. They use every single part of the buffalo, so much so that the tribes would follow the buffalo from one place to the next, almost becoming a nomadic way of life. They relied on them for food, obviously with the meat. They used their hides for shelter and clothes. They would skin the buffalo. They could use the fur for jackets. They could use the hide for teepee shelters and lighter weight shirts and pants. They used the sinews for bows. So they would clean out the intestine and they would string their bow and arrow with the buffalo intestine. They would use the teeth, the bones, everything for different tools, weapons. They would actually clean out the bladder of the buffalo and use the bladder to store water. They used every single part of the buffalo to help live their life. So much so that the buffalo became like a central part of many of the religious festivities. Right. So what I'd like you to do is take a second now that we're done talking about this, you're going to sum it up. Why was the buffalo so important to the people living on the plains? Once you're finished with it, you're finished with this Peardeck. Thanks.